Hi, I'm BenEzraGuest, host and co-producer with John Musante, town manager, who's the new kid on the block, sort of. We'll find out in a few minutes. One of the interesting things about John coming on board was the timing. We had some turmoil in terms of leadership at the school committee level. There were some big changes at the schools. And while all that was going on, very quietly, a guy named John Musante proceeded with a very low profile to get into the business of doing the business of the town. And I think the last 6 months have reflected not only the style of John Musante, but the skills. So John, once again, thanks for being here. We'll talk about those skills in terms of what were the major challenges that you found facing you as soon as you came onto the job.
Sure. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Isaac. And as you said, this week really represents my 6-month anniversary upon being appointed town manager. But as you noted, I've been with the town since 2004 as finance director and assistant town manager. And then I've been a resident of the town actually all the way back to 1996. And I went to school at the university, so I'm very familiar with the town of Amherst.
You don't need a map.
Made a conscious decision to come back here to the area with my family, to raise my family, and this is where I want to be, this is where I want to live, and this is where I want to work.
Well, good. So let's get into the job of doing the job. What's happening?
We're incredibly busy. I think it's safe to say that I've hit the ground running as town manager. We've had to deal with a number of issues, and I'll touch on a few key ones, working very closely with the select board. Certainly the issue overhanging almost any issue I'm dealing with is the fiscal situation. Coming out of the worst recession in over 70 years, that has impacted individual families, private businesses, municipal and state governments. Amherst has been no exception, so working very closely with others in town government, school administration, to help navigate the town through the worst of this recession, create a fiscal plan that was multi-year and sustainable, sell that to the community and move forward. And I think we've been able to do that.
And that homelessness committee got on board and really did a job with the town. And you really have achieved something. I want to talk about that.
Sure. Homelessness is, Amherst is no exception. Homelessness is a regional issue. The biggest thing that has occurred over the past several months is that for the very first time we have an emergency homeless shelter, which was no small feat. It's located at the First Baptist Church on North Pleasant Street, as you know, and it required tremendous cooperation between the town, the First Baptist Church, the Committee on Homelessness, a whole number of town staff. We were able to get the necessary permits, secure some federal community development block grant money, hire a new operator, Milestone Ministries out of Springfield, and get the shelter open by mid-November. And by, I think, most everyone's account, I think it's been a successful winter in terms of trying to meet the need of our homeless population.
And the Survival Center is making a move forward. You want to tell us about that?
Sure. The Survival Center, again, is an organization with a tremendous track record of meeting the basic needs of individuals and families in Amherst. They are embarking on a very ambitious capital campaign to relocate from the North Amherst School building, which is a town building, to a larger facility that would meet the needs of the organization. And so they have acquired the former Roosters restaurant property on Sunderland Road and are beginning a capital campaign to put up a new building. And we've had conversations with the Survival Center, and it's quite possible there'll be a public-private partnership to help finance
Maybe you
finance
can
that.
just briefly describe some of the benefits and the services that are available to people in need in the community.
Well, through the Survival Center, basic, food, clothing, some no-cost medical clinic services, some counseling services are available. There really are a lifeline.
Clothing, pots and pans,
right?
the whole 9 yards.
Sometimes furniture, a real lifeline for some of our most basic needs.
That's a major change, because I know the town's been struggling for years on how to get it done, and the Baptist Church really deserves the support and blessings of.
And in particular, I would commend Jerry Gates from the First Baptist Church, who has just been instrumental, working with us every step of the way on all the building issues that were needed to be resolved in order to get a shelter permitted. And that was no small, simple task. And we've been able to service through the end of February 64 different individuals over the course of the winter, and the milestone has been able to place, I believe, 9 of them in a more permanent housing situation. And so we really look at the homeless shelter as a temporary solution, but the real goal is solving our housing issues, which, on a related topic, we're moving forward on Olympia Drive with HAP. Section
8 housing,
right,
which is giving people a subsidy.
That's right. We're in front.
Need housing and can't afford housing.
That's right. And town meeting over the years has endorsed the development of a parcel of land at the very end of Olympia Drive off of East Pleasant Street to be developed into 42 units of affordable housing. And so
where are we on that?
We have a comprehensive permit that has been filed by the developer with the Zoning Board of Appeals, and so the Zoning Board of Appeals has opened their public hearing process and are reviewing the particulars of that permit. But we're quite hopeful that in the very near future that permit will be approved, and we can get on with constructing 42 affordable units.
Before we go into the budget, which is on everybody's mind at this point, and how that's going to shape up, how are we doing in terms of town-gown relations?
I think our town-gown relationship is very, very strong. Starting with the university, I have a very active engagement with the Chancellor, with the Deputy Chancellor Todd Dicon and his staff. We're working on a number of issues together, from economic development to neighborhood quality of life issues, student code of conduct. Olympia Drive is related to the university because Olympia Drive is technically not a town street at this point, but we hope at the end of this project it will be. So in terms of some of the projects with the university, in terms of neighborhood quality of life, joint patrols with police, we have some grant monies. We're coordinating with the university to have a more visible presence out in the neighborhoods on the weekends. We're working on a whole initiative I'm calling Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods, and I have the university officials with town staff at the table looking at things like code enforcement, public safety, infrastructure, student educational opportunities about responsibilities of being a renter, for example. We're working with the university on this gateway redevelopment project along North Pleasant, former Frat Row, and we're about to launch a very intensive public input process later in April on the gateway project.
And that's the conversation that was started several months ago.
Yeah, sure. Let me just expand upon that a little bit, Isaac. When I was appointed town manager October 1st, one of the very first issues I was involved with was related to the Gateway project, which was generating quite a bit of controversy and concern in some quarters, in particular some people in the immediate neighborhood, where there was a perception that the details of a redevelopment project were already set in place without the benefit of any significant or meaningful community input. And so one of the things that I stressed very early on, both to the Amherst Redevelopment Authority and to the community at large, is that I thought we collectively needed to step back, take a deep breath, engage an outside consultant who is trained in planning for mixed-use projects of this type, and really have an intensive public dialogue seeking input from all the key stakeholders who have an interest in the success of this project. So not just folks from the neighborhood, but the university, town officials, people from the business community, and others out in the community. And so the ARA decided that was a good course of action. A consultant, ACP, has now been engaged, and they are now in the midst of working with the ARA to schedule stakeholder meetings and a number of other public meetings over the next 6 weeks or so. And I hope what comes out the other end is a project vision where there's some consensus support for some of the key elements. And so I'm very excited about that.
And I'm excited about the fact that you stepped in appropriately and said the town is part of this partnership, and we're not going to do anything that the community doesn't want, which was the very first issue.
Right.
And that was a very good discussion. And I had Aaron from the authority, and I had John Fox here, and the conversation was at a different level because it was being framed differently. And I'm glad to hear that we're on the way.
Well, I think, we're at this moment of opportunity now where we've set up a process that, if done well, and if people are truly engaged in offering constructive input, being flexible, and sitting around the table together as opposed to feeling like you're on the outside looking in, I think we have the opportunity with the talent that we have in the community to articulate a very exciting and compelling project for that portion of town that could strengthen our linkage to the university and enhance the attractiveness and the quality of life in that immediate neighborhood. So I'm very excited about the possibilities.
And that was the critical moment when the meeting took place with all parties, and the town and the select board represented the position of the town very clearly, that we need a process. We don't have to rush into something. Let's find out what the issues are and work together to resolve. And so that's terrific. And I think that's a style that I have to say I like about you.
Okay. Well, we're getting to the hard part now, Isaac. The hard part now will be the actual engagement. And so, but I have great faith in the collective abilities of people who have an interest in this project, including the members of the ARA, university officials, town officials, and citizens out in the neighborhood and out in the community, because there is, like I said, a lot of talent in the community. There's going to be development of some type in that corridor. This is our opportunity as a town to really have a say in what goes there. So I'm really optimistic and looking forward, really encouraging people to get involved, become engaged, and offer your input to make it the best project it can possibly be.
Let's move towards budget time. It's exactly, I mean, anybody who's watching Channel 17, 15, and 12 knows that something's going on in this town every day. You want to talk about the process? Sure.
As I said at the top of the show, our budget challenges are overhang most of the issues I deal with as town manager, and we're anticipating our 4th consecutive year of real dollar cuts in financial support from state government. So that has presented tremendous challenges. For the municipal portion of the budget, not counting the schools and the library, we've reduced our workforce over the last 3 years by about 25 positions, which is about 10% of our workforce. We've had to cut back on leisure services programming. We've reduced some police positions. We've reduced several positions in town hall. We've had to make a number of other cuts. So it's in that backdrop that we're trying to plan for next year. Two positive things that are helping us both on the town side, the school side, and the library side are that we've had some success in controlling our health care expense increases. Unlike an industry trend, which is closer to 10%, plus 10% for the coming year, we're going to be able to hold the line and have no increase in our health care premiums for the coming year. And that's a direct result of the work we've done collaboratively with our employee unions to renegotiate our plan design, drop our most expensive plan, replace it with more cost-effective plans, increase co-pays and the employee contribution. So that has helped us tremendously. Then the second piece that's helping us is energy efficiency. We've made a number of investments in our capital budget on heating systems, cooling systems, windows, roof replacements, and we're able to have achieved a savings of about $250,000 a year on energy costs. And we're projecting actually a small decrease in our utility budget for the coming year. So having those two traditional budget busters actually be flat or negative are making it possible for the municipal portion of the budget to pretty much hold the line despite another cut year.
Talking about holding the line, John, in the larger community out there, the Wisconsins, the Ohios, I understand our staff has been coming to the plate ready to work out the problems, that it's been a partnership. And I think the community needs to know that.
I think you're absolutely right, and I try to take opportunities like this and others to tell that story because we have worked collaboratively with all of our town and school unions going back a number of years. Now, you may remember 5 or 6 years ago, we were in crisis in terms of our health plan. We're self-insured, and our trust fund that is funded from the town, the school, and our employees was in deficit position, putting a tremendous strain on our ability to preserve town and school services. We worked together and developed a strategy to address those issues head on, and I can't say enough about the collaboration that we've had because we can't do this alone. And you're right, that's in sharp contrast to what you're seeing in some other parts of the state and certainly nationally.
And I think what people also need to be reminded about is that their neighbors, they pay taxes, they send their kids to the schools, they want the same things for their family that others do. And I think it's great that we have that kind of relationship, but respect the integrity of the work that they do.
I think you're right, and I think it's about communication and respect. And we've had this group called the Insurance Advisory Committee, meeting typically quarterly now for many, many years, and that process has worked well. And so we have some near-term successes there, but certainly looking longer term, healthcare remains one of our biggest challenges to keep those costs under control. We're looking forward to some of the more progressive elements of the federal healthcare reform, including a greater emphasis on preventive care. That will help us control our costs and hopefully have our workforce and retiree group stay healthy.
And one of the things the community can do along those lines is to pay attention to our neighbors in the North Vermont who are now working to establish the first single-payer healthcare system, which is nothing more than an expanded Medicare for everybody. Mm-hmm. And that would have a significant impact on our future budget. So that while we can't get more money from the state in these hard times, we could change the way we use our resources and go towards plans that will provide us with more opportunities. And the drugs that we're using, are we still doing all right on the drugs?
We're still using we still give employees a Canadian import option for generic prescription drugs, and we are realizing some savings from that, and it's a real benefit to some individual employees who have a need for maintenance type prescriptions. So that's been one of many initiatives we've undertaken to try to control cost.
And they don't have any co-pays on that program?
There's no co-pays on that, and we're still saving money as an employer compared to our traditional drug coverage.
So it's interesting, there are ways to transfer those resources from the corporations to the people who do the job.
Right, and as we plan for a year ahead where there's no real increase in our healthcare costs, those dollars are absolutely redirected into the classroom to maintain small class size on the school side, public safety services, our public works services, all the basic things that people in town rely on their town government to provide.
Now, there's this guy, John Musante, on this ad at ACTV, something about energy, saving money, and buying something for the town. You want to tell us about that?
Sure. What I've said to the select board, and actually was one of the goals that they laid out for me when I was hired, I have 8 specific performance objectives that they identified, one of which related to positioning the town to be a leader in the region on renewable energy, on sustainability. And to that end, we're doing a couple of different things that we can touch upon. We have a program in coordination with Western Mass Electric Company called Western Mass Saves, which is a program for individual homeowners to take advantage of low or no cost energy efficiency improvements in their home, insulation, the energy efficient light bulbs, air sealing, all of those kinds of things. And we're encouraging residents to sign up for that program. If there's a sufficient number of residents who participate, we'll be getting a contribution of a solar panel.
How does that work exactly? Somebody says, I'm interested. What happens?
There's a number that you can call or the website, Western Mass Saves, and there'll be a home visit scheduled, be like a home energy audit that can be scheduled. I had it done on my own house last year. It's very easy, very easy to schedule. Learned a lot in the process in addition to getting some low or no cost energy efficiency improvements made.
So there are some costs.
If you go to the next step, if you have some insulation work, they'll put you in touch with contractors. It's still at a reduced rate.
Okay.
But a lot of the initial work is no cost to the homeowner. It's paid for through a very small surcharge on your monthly electric bill.
Sounds like a plan.
It's a great plan for individual houses, which is really a segue to a more ambitious project that we're embarking upon, and that is a solar farm at our old landfill off of Belchertown Road.
Are they connected with this project?
It's a different program.
Okay.
This project, if we're able to get it up and running sometime in 2012, would generate enough electricity from solar power to supply all of the municipal and school electricity needs. So our entire electricity budget as a town would be supplied through renewable power.
And what's the initial cost to get that going?
Well, our contribution really is the site. We have an old landfill.
Right.
So we would we're in negotiations now with a company called Blue Wave Capital. We would lease the site. The private developer would finance and install the solar panels at the landfill. That power would be sold into the electricity grid at a reduced price. The town would then, through a concept called net metering, receive the benefit of a lower price per kilowatt. And we would achieve a cost savings from that. We would also generate tax revenue by virtue of having solar panels at the landfill, generating personal property tax.
What are we talking about in terms of dollars, eventually in terms of savings?
Our our developer has estimated that over the next 30 years, we have the potential to save in energy costs over $25 million. So this is a big deal. They're estimating that we could reduce our carbon output by about 6,000 tons a year, which is the equivalent of removing 1,200 cars off of our roads in terms of not polluting the environment. So we're very excited about it. We are scheduling a community meeting on April 6th at 7 p.m. at the Fort River Elementary School. We're inviting people from the community and from the neighborhood, many of whom have questions about how this would work, what it would look like, what are the environmental impacts, if any, from having a solar farm at an old landfill. So we have a lot of good questions that people are asking. I'll be at that meeting along with Guilford Mooring, our DPW superintendent, and John DeVillers from Blue Wave Capital. John DeVillers is one of the leading environmentalists in the Northeast, former cabinet official in the Dukakis administration on environmental issues, former regional administrator for the EPA. So we think we've assembled a really outstanding project team. We want to be a leader in renewable energy in Amherst and walk the walk.
That sounds great. Finally, I have to ask this question. How has ACTV contributed to the town government?
ACTV is an essential partner in keeping the community informed about issues in town, not just in town government or the school committee or the different regulatory boards that are broadcast, but also just in terms of engaging the community, allowing people from all spectrums of the community to have an opportunity to talk about issues or cultural things. So I see ACTV as a real partner with the town. We have a slogan on our town website, which is an award-winning website, by the way, that we're proud of. We have a slogan called Open Government to the Max. And ACTV is one of the many ways that we are able to, what we hope, provide an open and transparent local government here in Amherst and really be able to talk issues with the wider community and bring as broad a spectrum of the community into the conversation as we possibly can to do what's right for the town.
Well, I don't know if people know it, but we have a contract with the town. We're a nonprofit corporation. We have a 10-year contract. We're 5 years into it. And it's really a love relationship because when people sneeze in town, it's on ACTV. This is about the most transparent community in the United States. I really believe that because all of the important things that take place are out in the open. That's why we have problems. That's why people are informed. That's why it's a headache sometimes. Well,
I always say to people, you know, sometimes people, they congratulate me on my appointment and then they give me some condolences about how you know, the pressure-filled position and the challenges. But the fact that we have such an open and transparent process, people are engaged, while that's a challenge, it's also really a blessing because apathy would be so much worse.
John, it's been a pleasure. Look for a long-term relationship.
Okay. Enjoying it. Thank you.
That's it. Thanks to the volunteers from UMass and the other schools. Thanks to the ACTV staff. See you next week. This is Conversations, signing out.